this man, my buddy, my colleague from the NFL Media Group, Ian Rapoport. How are you, Rap Sheet? What's up, sir?
Rich, that conversation with Prime was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was at the Super Bowl in Minnesota. That was at the Super Bowl in Minnesota. So he's been after me for a while.
I see you did not take up his recommendation.
Well, look, the deal with Prime getting his hair back, or is he? The minute that he got his hair restored, he called himself the comeback player of the year, and he looks great. He really does look great. But his is free. You know what I mean? Like, he gets his for nothing because he's Prime. It's just a different story.
Well, but you're Rich Eisen.
I should look into that.
I mean, you trying to tell me you couldn't get some sort of a hair deal or a little what do they call it, barter type situation for a little Rich Eisen time? Like, I bet you could.
I guess I would be a walking billboard for that sort of thing.
Get this man some hair.
Brockman would be so upset. We're so upset with Urlacher. We call Urlacher an ingrate. Yeah. Urlacher's an ingrate. He left us on the field.
Benedict Urlacher.
He did. He left us on the battlefield. But
this is what I would feel like if Mike Garafolo got hair. I'd be like, and I'm not obviously a fellow bald, but
no, I know.
I would still feel like a little offended. I'd be like, Mike, how'd you do this to us? You were our bald guy.
No, or you'd say to him, you don't belong in my club. Kick him out of you know what I mean? Like, you just can't do that. All right. At any rate, we're a day before the NFL season begins in Tampa, and obviously 4 days before it begins writ large for all. Why is T.J. Watt still in limbo right now?
It is an extremely hard negotiation to do, and it's not saying anything about T.J. Watt as a player. He is an awesome player. He really is. Like, one of the best players in the NFL. I think Ben Roethlisberger said it perfectly today when he was like, give him all the money he wants. He's one of the best players. Totally agree. He also comes from a football family. I don't know if you've heard this or not.
Yes.
He's got some brothers that not only host a tag show, but also, which is actually a really good show, but also play football. And so he's well-versed in the J.J. Watt contract, which was a very long deal that, probably didn't hold up as great as some of the other deals. So he wants to make sure that his deal is perfect. And the Steelers don't do full guarantees beyond year one. They just don't structure contracts that way, and that has been the fight. I don't know if it's going to get done. I hope it does. Mike Tomlin has been optimistic. To me, if it doesn't get done, then the question is, is T.J. Watt going to play? And I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Well, why can't the Steelers make an exception for T.J. Watt?
This has always sort of been not that I have a contract stance, but if I did,
yes,
this would be it. It's like teams have principles. We don't negotiate a contract 2 years out. And then they do it for their quarterback, and you're like, well, he's our quarterback. And I'm like, yes, but some players who are not quarterbacks have that kind of power. Julio Jones in Atlanta had that kind of power. They did a contract 2 years out. To me, if you are the Steelers and you're trying to somehow, some way get this mega deal done for Ben Roethlisberger, or for T.J. Watt, making the exception for Watt makes sense. I'm sure there is a bridge. I'm sure they could figure it out. I know that time has sort of been running out. So we'll see if it gets done today, or we'll see if it gets done Saturday right before the season. I could see both happen.
Well, then Tomlin will have to break his rule, right? That if no practice, no play. But you got to put him out there. I mean, this is the Bills. This is what it's all about. How do you think Big Ben's statement landed in the general managers and owners' offices today? Ian?
I mean, I think Ben's been there for 20 years, so when he says things, even though they love Big Ben and all that, I'm sure there's a little bit of an eye roll. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for your input. We appreciate your salary cap expertise and your contract advice. I'm sure they roll their eyes at it, but his point is a good one. T.J. Watt's not going to get all of the money in the world. He's going to get a lot of money, so what they're arguing is probably not as much as, I don't know. I'm sure it's not as big as they all think it is. I'm sure something can get done. I just don't know if something will get done.
Ian Rapoport, NFL Network insider, right here on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line on the Rich Eisen Show, 1 day before kickoff in Tampa, Florida. What's going on with Dak? he seems healthy. He's full go. Exactly what you told us a couple of weeks ago. There's no there at all. Like there's not everything that was wrong with him. What was wrong with him? What can we know about that?
So basically what it was, and I found out a little more on this today. So he was like, I don't know if it was in a walkthrough or early on in warmups, but at some point he tried to throw it too hard, which is like, if you're an old man like me and like you, like started saying, you try to throw a ball like a real person now, like it strains your shoulder to try to throw it until you're like fully warmed up, right? This is like me on the golf course. I'm forever stretching myself into oblivion, right?
Nice.
Dak did not. So he strained it a little bit, and it really was a nothing injury, but you can re-injure it easily. Like the actual injury isn't bad, but the risk of aggravating it is high. So they were like super, super, super cautious, kind of creating this big deal. So they got all the publicity, unfortunately, but what they didn't do is re-aggravate it. So they're actually in a really good place. He seems fully healthy. I think he is going to play great. I think the Cowboys as a team are going to be really, really good. I'm looking forward to seeing it tomorrow night.
Why do you think?
That's amazing.
All right, so why do you think the Cowboys are going to be really, really good, Ian?
Their roster is loaded. Like, we're all sort of conditioned because we've done this a long time to think of the Cowboys as like a big splashy team, splash signings, big name guys, high price. This is a deep, talented roster of mostly homegrown guys. And it is I just think it's really talented. Like, I know their 53-man roster cut decisions were extremely hard. Some were easy. Dallas's were extremely hard. I know that all the talent that they wasted on defense last year, they are going to kind of be able to use again this year because they hired a coach in Dan Quinn who can make use of the talents they have and kind of bring them back to the system they had 2 years ago when they were really good defense. So, to me, it really is like snapping your fingers and they're a lot better. Like, I think they're going to be very good.
Rap sheet, Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, Ian, I'm going to give you a chance to think about this with a more long-winded setup than normal. Okay, so I'm showing you my pitch right here.
Okay.
But there are so many big-time off-season acquisitions, free agents, signings, and trades, and drafted players. Which transaction, whether it's a free agent signing or a drafted player or an acquired player by trade, your ears to the ground, you talk to a lot of people, which one scares the rest of the league the most and has the team that acquired this player by trade, draft, or free agent signing is sitting in the catbird seat because they know the rest of the league is genuinely concerned about this player joining their team? Which one?
Wow, there were so many trades, and I mean, it feels like the whole offseason's been one endless transaction. So I don't know if it's any fun because I don't have like a
go for it
spicy one. But to me, the two ones that are the most intriguing, that have the possibility of being like the most sort of devastating, are two of the biggest. The Stafford to LA deal. Sounds like he has been great. And not only Stafford's really talented, so that's not, we've seen him throw for years. He's great. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like he has expanded the offense just kind of creatively what he can do. So, and I don't know if my eyeballs will be able to know, but they are really excited in the building about just because he's so talented and because he's seen so much, where he can take this offense. So I think Stafford to the Rams is a good one. And then if Julio Jones is healthy, he is going to make the Titans extremely hard to defend. And I know they are not like a perfect team. How well can they cover on the back end would be a question and all that.
Right.
Offensively, they're going to be extremely, extremely tough to defend because it's like you load the box against Derrick Henry, you put two on A.J. Brown, you put two on Julio. Like, what do you actually do? So I think those two trades, nothing under the radar. Those were the biggest trades of the offseason. But I'm excited to see kind of where those go.
Are other GMs and coaches and whoever you speak to, agents saying the same thing? I mean, that's what I'm saying is like which ones have gotten the attention of the rest of the league? Are those the two? Stafford to the Rams. I know, like, obviously, for instance, San Francisco and Shanahan, that might have been plan A for, moving on from Jimmy G as opposed to drafting somebody and trading a bunch of picks to go draft.
Was plan A for a lot of people. Like, there was I still almost can't believe the interest that the Lions had in him. I mean, I even at the time kind of underestimated it because, it felt like, all right, the two sides are kind of agreeing to part ways and kind of an older quarterback. Like, a lot of people were interested in Stafford. I mean, that probably is the one that drew the most buzz. The Julio trade, I think from the defensive coordinators that I've spoken with, like during my camp tour and all that, that's the one where like they're like, what are teams going to do? Like they really don't know.
And before you joined our program, Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show, before you called in, you tweeted Carson Wentz is a go for the Colts in week 1,
He's
right?
a go, yes. He's going to be a full participant in practice today. He has been trending this way, and he has been awesome. I think the Colts, after the surgery, were a little surprised at how quick he came along. I think Wentz probably knew that he was going to be fine and probably knew he was going to be the starter, even if none of us did. It's just amazing. Like, we spent at NFL Network and at every other place a long time talking about the Jacob Eason v. Ellinger quarterback battle.
Yes, sir.
And, are the Colts going to trade for Nick Foles and all the other stuff? And I'm sure Carson Wentz hated all of it because he probably thought that he was going to play week 1 and we didn't. And now he gets to be like, yep, told you. So I think he's going to be – not I think. Like, he's going to be good to go. I don't know how they're going to be as a team. He hasn't practiced a ton, but I believe he will be starting.
What about Quentin Nelson? What about him?
I think he's going to be starting. He's not going to practice today. It's just bizarre that two teammates have like almost the same injury.
Right.
It's really just weird. I know if Quentin Nelson can possibly get out there, he will. I'm not as confident in him as I am in Carson. I'll say that.
Okay. And then I'm going to give you an open-ended question, Ian, about what we're reading on Twitter, obviously, and I'm sure he's not paying attention to it, and our buddy Mayock. But what is going out in Vegas? What is happening with the Raiders in Vegas with their roster and a couple of third-round picks not even making it to the season? It's just a lot of weird transactions that may or may not have Mike's fingerprints on them or Gruden's fingerprints are all over them, and obviously it's one team effort. And watch, the Raiders can go and compete for the AFC West title. I mean, who the heck knows, right? They have a ton of talented players on their roster. The question is, how do they all mix, and what does Gruden like and dislike? It just seems a lot of question marks in Vegas right now.
Yeah, with all due respect to our friend Mayock, like I got a lot of questions. I really do. 2 third-round picks not even seeing the field for 1 second. Like, it happens. You miss on draft picks. Usually you don't miss that much, but it happens. I would say, they are still in roster construction mode, so having to sign KJ right before the season, having to trade for Denzel Perryman to beef up their linebacker group, like, it's not what you want. But credit to them for recognizing an issue and trying to solve it. They have their drafts have been a struggle. It has not been good. They've hit on some guys, but it has not been good. And when that happens, you have to basically on the fly keep building, keep trading for guys, keep signing guys. Like, I think they could be okay. They don't have a great depth, but just overall first line talent, they could be a playoff team. So if they stay healthy, I think they could be fine. The problem I have is the sort of race to assign blame, and I think you described it really well. Like, nobody knows whose fault it is. So, like, is it Mayock's fault for the draft? Is that Gruden pressuring him to do things? Like, it's hard to know who did what, and I assume because Mayock's the GM that he takes ultimate responsibility. But are we to assume that Gruden has never said, actually, no, we're taking this guy? Like, he probably has, right? So I have a lot of questions about Vegas. They still could be a good team, but just the way they have been built, I say more questions than answers.
Last one for you, Ian Rapoport, before I send you on into your day. And then, of course, we'll chat on the kickoff show on NFL Network tomorrow night, and then game day morning on Sunday, as always. The conversation in the league that you're hearing, who has the best roster, best team going in? Is it Tampa because they kept everybody? Is it Green Bay because Rodgers came back? Is it Kansas City despite the changes up front? Who is it? Which one do you got for me on that front?
I would say it seems to be, like, when I just kind of, like, pick people's brains, like, what do you think? It seems to be either Green Bay or Kansas City, which is perfect because the Bucs are literally the Super Bowl champions, so it should be them. And they returned their entire roster, and they're still awesome. It's just hard to argue against two great quarterbacks. Not that Tom Brady's not in his prime, but, like, Mahomes really is, and Rodgers probably still is. So it seems to be a battle between the Packers and Kansas City. So I would say those two. And, you know, the fact that the Chiefs completely rebuilt their offensive line and I think got a whole lot better there. You know, the Packers are they should be probably the same. The Chiefs should be better. And that is certainly a scary thing.
It sure is. Ian, thanks for the time, brother. We'll chat again tomorrow. Always appreciate you coming on here. Truly. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Always a pleasure, Rich. Take care.
Right back at you at Rap Sheet, Ian Rapoport. Right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.